Now, if you need to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it on your side, down in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a zoom feature. And you can click it to the right or the left, make it bigger, smaller, whatever you want. My eyes aren't too good, so I have to make mine kind of huge. So now this this cell right here is A1. It's the intersection of A and 1. So go ahead and put numbers in these cells here. What I did is I did 3 inner, 5 inner, 6 inner. Now the very easiest formula is just one where you can do basic operations. Like if I'm going to add these together. I know there's a sum formula which we'll look at here shortly, but just to really emphasize what the cells are referred to, click over in C1, and we type equals. And how you start every formula is with an equals. If you don't have the equals there, you won't get the correct result. Now we'll type A1 plus A2 plus A3. So it should look like this, equals A1 plus A2 plus A3. And then we press enter. And that'll add them together. Now you might say, well, big deal, I could add that in my head. The power of formulas is such that if you build a sheet, then you come in later on, update these numbers, and it'll automatically update your formula. So that value is then increased. So if you build it correctly with formulas, then you don't have to sit there and manually add anything. You can just do that.
Do you just push enter after you're done? Oh.
Right. Oops. Everybody get that? Now that's a plus. Of course, the minus, subtracting. If I did, I'm in C2 now. If I do A1 minus A2, that's what you would expect to use a subtraction. Again, you have to have the equals on there, or it won't work. And then press enter.
What did you press to get the formula when you put C1? What did you press to get the formula to come up there?
To get it to come up again?
Yeah.
To get it to come up again, what you do is up here in this bar, and I'm afraid I can't make that any bigger up here. But if you click to the right of that, that'll bring up your formula.
Okay.
So then you can edit your formula. Now, here's one that you may not be real familiar with: multiplication. It's not the top, it's not the little x. If I do equals A1, it's the asterisk. Asterisk is always multiplication in Excel. And then A2. And divide. If I do A1, you can probably guess that's your division symbol in Excel. Multiplication is really the only weird one. Sort of. There is a power. Like if you want to take 4 to the 7th power for some reason, you can do A1 caret A2. Caret is above your, I don't know what it's above on the Mac. 6? Oh, yeah, it's above the 6 on Windows. It should be somewhere on your keyboard if you have a Mac, though.
It's on the 6.
Is that on 6 also? Okay. I don't know if you work with any formulas that require powers, but that's how you do a power.
So that was 4 to the 7th power then by doing that?
Right. Yeah, that's 4 to the 7th power.
Can you go, can I see that formula again?
Uh-huh. Oops.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Now, that's not real convenient for me to sit up there and click that to see every formula. Over here, there's a Formulas tab, and this makes it a lot easier to see your formulas. If you click the Formulas tab here, there's an option over here under the Formula Auditing that says Show Formulas. And if you do that, that'll show you every formula. And then, of course, to shut them off, I'm going to click it again. They didn't used to have that in Excel. That's a really nice feature they added. Because if you got formulas, you had to click on each one to see the formula, and then if the cell was too small, and you had to look up that little bar, my eyes aren't very good. But anyway, that's your basic operations. Now, in general, if you have more than a single number in your exponent, in the top or bottom of a fraction, the division symbol, then put parentheses around it. Way back when, well, no, they didn't. Some of you have had math recently, though. They didn't have these clever things when I took math way back when, but there was a, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally for an order of operations. And I don't know when they decided they needed those clever sayings to help people. It's been nice if they'd come up with that 100 years ago. Remember, order of operations, please. That means you do whatever's inside parentheses first. And Excel does that. So when you put something inside of parentheses, it makes sure it does that first. There's a, and I probably can't write it very well here, but there's a interest formula. A is equal to PE to the RT power. Compound interest. I don't know. Is that ever even used?
Yes.
No? Yes? And I heard a no. So it's used in algebra, but I always wonder in the banking, do they ever really use that? But let's say I'm wanting to program this. Again, the R and T should both be up in the exponent, and I wrote it deliberately with parentheses around it. So that's how you'd have to plug it in. Now we're going to actually look at that formula later on, so we'll see how to program that. But that's an example of where would you use the parentheses at. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete these. How I'm going to delete them is I click in one of the cells, hold down my left mouse button, and drag until it's highlighted, and then I can press my delete, and that cleans it out. Now, I guess while we're right here, I might as well take a look at that, because that will introduce some more of the topics of Excel. This A is your ending amount. P is your beginning amount, your principal. Little r is your rate, and that's in decimal. And T is your time. And in college algebra anyway, that's in years. Now we're going to put a place up there for rate and time. And then we're going to have P as a column of numbers, and then we'll calculate A. And we're going to fill down so we see how to fill down and how that affects it and so forth. Well, up here, I'm going to say rate. So I just type rate. I'm now over in B1. And I'm going to put 3%. And on the next one here, I'll put time. And I'll put 5 for years. Tab takes you over to the next cell. Enter takes you down, I believe, to the next line. But that's a way you can navigate, or you can use arrows or mouse or whatever you're comfortable with. Now I'm going to have my principal here. In 2,000 or 1,000, 2,000, 8,000, 10,000. And here's where I'm going to put my formula. Now remember, our formula is A equals PE to the RT. Now I'm going to type equals, because again, every formula starts with an equals. And then I'm going to do my P, which is in A5, times, and here's one of our first functions we're going to look at besides the sum you may have already seen, is EXP. If you're wondering what E is, it's a number. It's 2.7 and a bunch of decimal places. And this right here actually does not need the caret if you put in the EXP. It says returns E raised to the power of a given number. So then I'm going to do R, which is B1, times time, which is B2. Now we're going to go and adjust this formula later because it's not right. We're going to talk about why it's not right. Okay, so we got A5. And the nice part about this is, assuming you're not colorblind, it does the colors for you. See, A5 is blue, that's blue. B1 is red, that's sort of red. B2 is purple, that's purple, whatever colors those are.
Now, does it matter if we stay in all caps as long as we get those characters correct?
It does not matter. It can all be in lowercase, yeah, or uppercase. Yeah. Now, if I press enter on that, if I'm going too fast, holler. Say, hey, I don't got that formula down. And still working on it?
Working on it.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Okay, so if I press enter, now that's correct. Now if I click this cell, so go ahead and click B5 and put your mouse down in the bottom right hand corner. And when you do that, it becomes a black plus. When it becomes a black plus, you hold down your left mouse button, drag and fill down. And it gives us this. Now there's two items I want to talk about here. I said the formula wasn't right, and we're going to go and correct it. But this one, if I, let me see, I'm already in my formulas. If I say show formulas, this says equals A5. A5 is correct. That's where I put that at. This says A6. That's correct. A7. That's correct. A8. That's correct. But you see how this was B1 times B2, which is correct. But then on these other rows, it incremented the number. That's what Excel does. When you fill down, it will take your numbers and increment it like that. That's not what we want. We wanted it to always point to these two values up here. So we're going to go and correct this. I'm going to shut the formulas off. Now this one right here, if I click up here, it brings this, and I can click down here and modify this. How you can, this is referred to as relative versus absolute referencing. Absolute means no matter what, I always wanted to say B1 and B2. To get it to always say B1 and B2, you put dollar signs before the B, dollar signs before the 1, dollar signs before the B, dollar signs before the 2. What that tells it is that will always see B1 and B2. It will never adjust those if you fill down formulas. Some of you may have done this before, and you may have just put a dollar sign before the B and dollar sign before the B on the second part. And that works, assuming you're filling down. If you're filling to the right, then you have to worry about the other one. So it's just a safe technique to always put dollar sign before the letter, dollar sign before the number, if it's truly an absolute reference. Everybody still doing good?
Didn't work.
Didn't work? Let me come look at it.
I probably made a mistake. I know.
You see it? You need dollar sign before 2, but that isn't yet. Okay, so A5 times EXP, the dollar sign B. No, just dollar sign. Then B. And dollar sign 1.
This is just for
It should be the, see the other one A5 or B5. That's what it should be. Missing the dollar sign 1. Go ahead and click up there. Yeah. And let me see this. So you got dollar sign. You need dollar sign before the B. So let's put a dollar sign there. And times, and then dollar sign before the B. And get rid of the 1.
I think so. For now.
So after I press enter on that, we need to fill that down. So if I click B5, put your mouse in the bottom right-hand corner, becomes a black plus, and you click and pull down, and that'll fill that down. And now our formula is right for all the cells.
You accomplished that by putting in those dollar signs.
Right.
Okay.
Was that very easy? Yeah. Somewhat, maybe.
Can I ask what version of Excel this is?
Yeah, I sat the other night. I think it's 2016.
Okay.
I don't think it's a 2019.
'Cause I'm pretty sure mine's not this new.
Now, this functionality is in everything, though. What you may not have is you may not have the show formulas here.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. There used to be a keystrokes you'd push. Oh, there it is. I put my mouse over it. Control, whatever that symbol is there, a single quote or a. I know there's 2 single quotes on your. If I do a control and let me do the one up in the upper left-hand corner. Okay. Yeah, if the one you have at home, if you hold down your control key and you do that the quote up in your upper left-hand corner, you're on a Mac.
Quote, what do you mean?
It's yeah, but it should be the in your you got Windows at home?
At work.
At work? Yeah, it's in the upper left-hand corner. So it's control and that single quote. There's actually 2 single quotes on your keyboard. There's one over there by your enter, and then there's one by your next to your tilde, your escape. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, you had to remember that way back when. And then they made it real user-friendly where you can click that. Of course, I never remembered it. I would always have to search the internet to find it. So. Now, that wasn't very easy, though, was it? There's another way of doing this so you don't have to put all those dollar signs. Now, this is rate, isn't it? That 0.03? Up here where it says B1, this is called your name box. And you can just click up there and you can type rate and then press enter. We're giving it a name. Down here at B2, this is time, isn't it? So I'm going to click up here in this name box where it says B2 up here, and I'll type time. I apologize, I didn't turn on my little yellow circle thingy. Let's see if I can remember where it's at real quick. Oh, you got to be kidding me, I bought that. $10 down the drain. I'll sue them. I bought it for that one night. It's just like,
Oh, really?
yeah, and that says it's unlicensed.
Huh.
Oh well.
Are you wanting to highlight something?
No, I bought a little nice yellow circle thing so you can see where my mouse is, and bought it from the wrong place, I guess. Anyway, everybody get their cells named?
B2, what did you put in there?
In B2, I typed time. Now, if I come down and click at A5, this is what our formula looks like. And I'm going to highlight all this dollar sign business and press delete. So this is what you should have left. Equals A5 times EXP beginning parentheses. And
What'd you do?
I clicked down in cell A5. I clicked up here so the formula would appear. You could actually then show formulas too, but it puts all of them on there, and I figured that'd be too much. And when this formula appeared, I clicked down here, and I deleted all this dollar sign B1, dollar sign B2, and just have equals A5 times EXP, beginning parentheses. Now at this point, that's still P to the P times E to the RT. So we got rate times time. So I'll type in rate. And as you type in rate, you see in lowercase, it has your little name you created. And if you do a tab, it goes ahead and finishes that. Times time. And then I put a closing parentheses at the end.
Now, because it's the same formula, do we need to drag down?
We will have to drag it down, yes. This is a much more user-friendly way of doing it. And now if I fill down, I click in cell B5, put my mouse in the lower right-hand corner and fill down. It doesn't change anything, but those were a lot easier to put in than all those dollar signs. Of course, if you're used to Excel and used to dollar signs, then it's not a big deal. But if you're not used to Excel, then those are easier. Do you need to see the formula?
Yeah, so did she.
You got all zeros? Rate times time.
There you go. Now you're good.
Now that should change my formula.
So change that.
This right here isn't declared as rate.
It is.
Puts a third rate in. And it should automatically correct itself.
I think it's gonna tell us to drag it down, but.
Let's see. Our rate is defined down
What
here.
else?
No, it's bizarre. Okay, well, we'll get around another way.
So what are we saying? This is what,
Type rate 2.
this is what it would be at, we work at 5 years, 3%.
So then down here, rate 2.
So if we put,
We have all zeros? Okay.
there's no way of changing time to months, and it's, because it said time versus years.
I just do multiplication. Yeah, that's not, this right here is like all I need to get right there, and then I need parentheses. Oh, you don't need something.
Type rate 2.
And then this is good.
Now, we'll come down here. And put a 2 there.
I know, I'm the same way, I'm like, it's not on my right here.
Yeah, change that to rate 2 times time.
So I need a date. Just to format all my spreadsheets and get all my vendors in order, because I took
Yeah, I'm like
Click the one over where you type break to there. Or just break it. Yeah, then come down here and change those to break.
Simple when you tell you how to do it.
Oh, yeah. She's got it right at something else to find us right. Or you can fill that one either way. That's interesting.
Well, for this one, the work has to be years. We were just discussing that. You had, it won't gain $161 in a month. But if you want to go per month, you have to divide. What? Up here? Oh, I went in one center. Says. Right click.
And I'm going to show you how to really fix that. At least with the Windows key.
Nope.
Oh, to clear out the
Is it brand new? It may be a 2000.
now here's my thing.
Insert touch. You can go into you can go to google.com and get there.
if you right click on the cell and choose delete, I think that'll get rid of those.
And you can send it to somebody else in your group. And they can okay. There's going to be a constant one. I don't know if it's called
Yeah, it's like,
So now you see
you right click on the cell,
go ahead.
yeah, it'll shift the cell, but that's what you should just.
and I thought,
Not numbers, your currency. It always likes to jump with currency. Well, you want the negative to be red. The positive to be black. Otherwise, and if you want to go up here, you can format that to percentage. Yeah, and the formula was already set in there. Yeah. Mr. Terry Breckhouse,
No, I
didn't know. He was a Spanish teacher, and he set all that up for the teachers in the school book. And that was back. I think we had the old Commodore computer.
Now, some of you had some weird things happen. And I've identified what those weird things are. In Mac, it did not like you using, I think it's rate. Rate is actually a formula. Windows handles it just fine. Mac hiccups, and that's why you were having all those rate problems, and it wasn't working right. To clear out a name, like if I don't want this name here anymore, one method, and this will work on everybody's computer. If you right-click on this and choose delete, that'll ask you to shift. There's also a clear contents, but I don't think that's on a Mac. Was it on a Mac, clear contents?
No, when you click delete, then you get another box that says entire row, colon,
Right.
shift up or down.
And see, that's where you then shift the cells left, to clear that out.
Name or
Oh, this is just if you want to clear out an existing name.
that clears the name up there? No?
Right. Like if you... Does it not clear the name?
No, it asks
That's disappointing. Yeah, I guess you have to delete then. If you right-click on this and choose delete, then you do shift cells, let's say left, and then you could rename it. Where you come up here, you click B1, and you type your new variable here.
Okay. Why didn't you hit shift cells left?
Just because if I shifted them up from here, I'd have to fix a lot. Since there was nothing to the right,
okay,
that's why I said just shift them to the left,
okay,
because then I don't have as much to fix.
I see.
And then you could give this whatever name you want, except for you're on Mac, you can't name it rate. It's kind of a pain. Now there is a way on Windows. I'm really surprised. I thought they were exactly the same. Otherwise, I would have grabbed some more Windows machines. There is a way to clear out your names real easy, but I couldn't locate it on the Mac. You see up here in the formulas, you got something called a name manager. If I click that, this will bring up all your names you have defined. And you could edit them right here if you wanted to, point them to a different location. You could press delete. You could even create a new one here. I click the right up here under the formulas tab. There's a name manager. I don't know why they didn't put that on the Mac. So that's what when I was looking. Their problem back there. I was looking for the name manager because it's so easy to clean that out. But this is where if you have something you don't want name-wise, you can just come up here and you click delete, and it'll delete that.
you can change the name too.
Yeah, if you go into edit, you can give it whatever name you want. Anyway, that wasn't as successful as I thought for that. But for those who had Windows, that'd be a way you could easily go and change that. Maybe the dollar signs was easier. But that's a name cells. There are some other nice features up here. There's trace precedence, trace dependence. This is where if you're trying to figure out what's going on with your formula, and I'm going to delete all this and start over. So I'll press delete on that. And just type in some numbers. By the way, if you're on Windows, you can name a whole sequence of numbers. So you could call that January sales. And so you could easily refer to it. So it doesn't have to be a single number you can name. If I add these together, I'm over in B1, and I'm going to say equals. This time I'm going to do a sum, beginning parentheses, A1 colon A4. Again, it has to have the equals because it's a formula. The sum tells it add all of those numbers together. And then A1 colon A4 tells you to add all the values in cell A1 all the way through A4. And then in parentheses. Now if I press enter on that, that gives me 29 on mine, depending upon what numbers you have. Now if I click 29, where that formula was, we've already looked at the show formulas option. I think I saw this in the Macs when I was wandering around. I never can remember which one to use. Usually I just click one, it dings me, and then tells me it's the other one. But if let me click the precedence. What this arrow indicates to you is where that's used at. So if you got a really complicated spreadsheet and you're trying to figure out where in the world is this coming from, then you can use that feature there. Now, trace dependence, like I said, I never know which one to choose. It'll give you a little, hey, there are none, and then you just say, okay.
How do you get out of trace?
To get rid of the arrows, there's a remove arrows option up here.
Oh. Okay.
And that'll get rid of your arrows.
Trace dependence. Command found no formulas.
Maybe you have to be over here to click. Let me see. Trace dependence.
I have to be in B1.
Yeah, I guess you have to be in the right cell. Like if I'm in A1, A2, A3, A4, I can click trace dependence, and that shows you where that's being used at. Which means if you change one formula here, you know what it's going to affect. So that's its main purpose.
But you went from A1, 2, 3, and 4, and all the arrows. Why don't you do that?
I clicked A1, and then I clicked the, which one did I click? That one. Was it top one? Okay, I clicked top one. If you do that, it'll draw the arrow. Now, if I come over to B1 and probably click the, boy, I wish I could remember these. I guess you can't have arrows going back if you have them going the other way. But that shows your arrows.
Yeah. Okay. You highlighted 1, 2, 3, and 4?
Actually, I just clicked A1.
Okay.
And then dependence. Then I click trace dependence.
Yeah, and you got one arrow. That's what I got.
Right.
Now, before you had more. Oh, you went down to each one.
I just went down to each one.
Okay,
Now earlier,
thank you.
what I did is I clicked this to click the entire sheet. And I clicked trace dependence, and it doesn't work. You know, it didn't do every one of them. I was disappointed about that. One time I swear I got it to work,
Ah,
and then every other time it just didn't. So I don't know if it's a buy sell thing, or maybe if I click these, highlight these four, maybe if I click it. No. So it looks like you have to click each individual one if you want to see that.
what's dependent mean?
Well, the answer here is dependent upon these values. So that's, I think, what that arrow indicates. So if I change here, it'll change that. Like if I do down here and I do an equals A1 times A2, like that. Now if I click, well, let me get rid of the arrows. If I click this one, click trace dependence, it does an arrow pointing there and pointing there. So you see exactly where it's used at. Probably if that cell's used in 50 formulas, you're going to have 50 arrows. If I had to guess. I never have looked at anything that complex. Over here, there's a calculation options. And there's a calculate now, which is F9. If you got older version of Excel, you may not have this. People know that you press F9, it redoes your calculation. So if you need to refresh everything, you press F9 and it does all of it. F9. If you're just trying to do the current sheet, you do Shift F9. Now, I probably couldn't give you a good example. It's been a while since I've had to use F9. I use it a lot at the IFR because I create a lot of spreadsheets there for management. And I'd have to do F9 to get it to update sometimes. You know, you've been looking to say, well, you've been changing numbers and automatically updates. So sometimes it doesn't. I guess that's all the exciting stuff there because not everybody has all these options. I think everybody has had all those ones I just showed. Is there any questions on those? Okay. Now, let's take a look at some of these. There's the auto sum, which is what people are really used to. If I put 3, 4, 5, and I'm sitting there at A4. Mainly where you're used to seeing this at is under the home. You see a button over here that says auto sum. That's the uppercase sigma, and what that uppercase sigma means is add to numbers. So if you click that, it comes up and it builds the formula for you. So you got an equals sum, beginning parentheses, and then the range, and then closing parentheses. If that's not right, you see how A1 through A3 is highlighted? You can click up here, and I'm going to click my left mouse button, and I'm going to hold down, and I'll drag it to what I really want it to add. So, what? I clicked an A1, and I'm holding down my left mouse button, and I'm dragging, and then whatever I highlight, it'll change down here. So I changed it just A1 colon A2, so all it's going to add together is A1 and A2. This is especially beneficial if where you're putting the sum at isn't real close to your numbers. It's not at the bottom of them or to the side. You have to tell it what the range is. And then you press enter. And I changed mine just to add 3 plus 4. Notice it does a little green, whatever that is in the upper left-hand corner. That indicates that it thinks maybe there's an issue. If you click in that cell, over on the right-hand side, you see a little, my eyes are bad, yield sign? Caution? Little caution sign. You put your mouse over it. It says the formula in this cell refers to a range that has additional numbers adjacent to it. So it thinks you screwed up and didn't and should have included the 5. And there's a little drop down next to it. If you put your mouse over it, and you can click it, and you say formula omits it, update formula to include the cells. So they provide ways for you to fix the formula. Help on this error, ignore the error, edit, and so I'll say update formula to include cells. It's too bad they don't make that a little bit bigger, because you don't maybe notice that little green triangle up there. But that will potentially be where you have an issue. Now, I'm going to go ahead and delete all that. Is everybody good on? If I go too fast, holler if you have questions. Okay. And I'm going to put some numbers here again. 3, 4, 9, 8, 2, 4. And I'll come over here to C3 and put 2, 3. Got numbers all over the place, don't I? Is auto sum, is there any way that's going to get all those numbers? No, it's just it won't be able to guess that, will it? I could maybe, say this range here and add it together. But then if I have other numbers in here, I don't want it to add. So like maybe if I have the month here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I obviously don't want to add these, do I? Well, if you come down and click in any cell, and it doesn't matter where you put these numbers at, we're just kind of demonstrating the concept. But if you click in, I'm clicking in C9, and I don't know what to do. Up here, where you would type in a number, perhaps, you see to the left of it, it says FX. This is a way to insert a function. This is the old school way of doing it. So if you got, some of you have mentioned you got older Excel, which is why I've switched over to this. If I click this, everybody has this from like 4 or 5 Excels back, I'm sure. So, when this pops up, it tries to come up with the most recently used, and maybe even tries to guess what you want. If you see the one you want in the most recently used, you can choose it. Otherwise, you can do the drop down, and you can choose these right here, if you know what category it's in. I suspect all of you have some here, though, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. So make sure that's highlighted and click OK. Now, when you do this, it tries to come up with a user-friendly way of presenting the data. And you see it says C3 colon C8. If I type in there A1 colon A3, and then I do a tab. Notice where A1 through A3 was. That was these 3 numbers here, weren't they? Now these 3 numbers here, what cells are those in? Right. So here I could put A5 colon A7. And then my last 2 numbers were in C3 and C4. Now you may have to modify that to where you put your numbers at. But if I do a tab, I go down here. And by the way, you don't have to do ranges. You could type in C3 and you could type in C4. That's probably not very efficient, especially if you have 100 cells in your range. But it does allow you to do single ones like that. Not only does it give you a user-friendly way of doing it here, but it also gives you help on this function. There was one I looked up earlier today. I couldn't remember exact syntax on it. The help actually had a video on it. I couldn't believe it. It's like, oh, this is fantastic. Because I forgot how to do a Vlookup. And I wanted to show that to you. And yeah, it's perfect video. Now, once you get it to where you want, you just click OK. And I've already forgot how to show formulas. It's that control and that weird little apostrophe. Is that a single quote or apostrophe, or is those one and the same? Any English majors in here?
What?
The single quote and apostrophe, are those different, or?
Well, yeah, the same on the typewriter. On these computers, you can go in the upper left-hand corner.
Yeah. Well, anyway, if you have this version of Excel, you can go to your formulas, and you can say show formulas. Now notice what it did. We had our sum, and we had our A1 colon A3 comma. So comma is how you separate those ranges. So if you're really big into just typing formulas in directly, you can do your ranges. You just have to put commas in between. Everybody good on that one? Okay. I'll show off the formulas again. Now I'm gonna clear this out. So I'm gonna highlight that and delete it. You notice over here under the formulas tab, there's a big FX over here. So that's the same thing as what you'd get, over the other location. Now they've made these where those same categories that you see over in that are now in a nice big icon where you can choose that. You see there's a recently used one. If you do the drop down on that, it comes up with that same list that's over in the other one. So if you have a newer version of Excel, this is just a user-friendly way of bringing up the other one. I'm going to go back to the other one since I think that's what a lot of you have. Now let's say I want to, and I'll go ahead and, since it's bigger, I can show this to you here. Some of you are in finance. I've had people bring up these formulas before and say this is one we use, and I have no business knowledge at all. But this guides you through it. If you put your mouse over it, it tells you returns a price per $100 face value of a security that pays periodic interest, whatever that is. Price MAT returns a price per $100 face value of a security that pays interest at maturity. So this is kind of nice, so you can just browse through there to see which one you want if you don't know. Now I don't think it gives that to you on the other one. Let me see. If I click the FX, if I choose financial, I guess it does. Because if you click it, you see how it changes the description down at the bottom. So it gives you the same description as the other one. I don't know. I have limited luck with this. It says type a brief description of what you want to do and then click go. I want to average numbers. It's not a brief description necessarily. Click go, and it said found average. It recognized I had the word average in there. Does anybody do a business function in Excel? Let's see. I want to find the standard deviation. And I'll put SD for standard deviation to see if it recognizes abbreviation. Find. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You probably do better off by browsing. Now, if you got time and you just can't find it, there's an all function. So if we click the all, this brings up everything, and you can then click down through this to find the one you're wanting. Of course, an easier way is to do what? Ask the teacher, yeah. Email me. You're welcome to email me anytime you have a question on it. You go to Google, right? Yeah. Google, you type in Excel, function, and then whatever you're trying to accomplish. I did that earlier today. I didn't get my answer. I was disappointed. I was trying to show you an easy way of doing this, and I didn't find an easy way. So I teach, I volunteer teach for online college, University of the People. They offer free degrees for people across the world. And I'm also a trainer for them. And they have in their spreadsheet, I don't know why they've done this. They have people's names, like David Space Hayes and Frank Space Hayes, Sally Adams. They're all in one cell. And I'm sitting there, and I do the filter just so I can see my students, which are other teachers, and it's a nightmare. It's like why they would not put the first name in one column and the last name in another column so I could sort it and so forth, but they didn't. So I'm having to browse through it constantly. And this is what I was trying to find earlier: is how do I come up with a function to split this apart? And there is a way to do it. It's not very clean. If we have time at the end, I'll show that. But these are the type of things you run across. You're sitting there shaking your head, and it's like, why would anybody do this? And some of you I see kind of nods yes, like.
I'm like, yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I do.
Yeah, when you got 200, it's a nightmare as you're sitting there trying because you can't sort it in any form.
You also know how to work spreadsheets, so that helps.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll take a look at how to split that apart because I actually don't know how to do it on that because it's even worse. It's on a product called Teams, and that's where you use Excel online, and it doesn't have all the functionality that this has. So. Okay. Get rid of that. Now let's say I have some numbers here, and I want to do some calculation based upon whether it's like greater than 1,000 or not. So my goal is if the value, let's say if the salary is greater than 10 million, then I'm going to tax a person at 90%. I kind of actually like that because I don't make 10 million. Otherwise, I'm going to tax at, I don't know, what, 24%? Let's say. Okay, so we got that right there. And you're trying to put this into your Excel in some manner. But you want it to be dynamic. You don't want it to be hard-coded. So if I come over here, assuming I can spell salary, this is going to be salary. And let me go ahead and put a value in here. I'll put 10 million in here. Besides just the obvious functions where you enter in the parameters and it gives you the answer, I think this is one of the cool parts of formulas is where you can do an if statement. I'm going to do an equals here, and I'm going to type it down here so you see it. They're not necessarily that easy, but if I do an equals and I type if, beginning parentheses. Now we want to check and see if that's greater than 10 million. So what cell is that in? A2. So I'm going to type A2 greater than 10 million. By the way, I think that was one of our representatives that had that idea, right? It's like, yeah, rich persons will let you do that. And then I'll do a comma. Now what this returns, the A2 is greater than 10 million, that returns like a true or false, yes or no. Now if it is true, that's this first condition right here. So if it's true, I want to multiply that to figure out what the tax is times 90%. So I'm going to type in here A2 times 90%, comma, and if it's not true, I want to already have no memory. What did I say, 24%? Let everybody type that in. Now, to begin with, once you press enter on that, is that greater than 10 million?
No.
No. It's equal to 10 million, isn't it? So that's going to be false. So this checking here, is this greater than 10 million, is false. So that means it does this second condition. If it's true, like if I had put 100 million in here, then it would do this first condition. So I'll press enter. And it multiplies it by 24%. But now if I change this to, let's see, what do the Cokes make? About $1 billion a year? I don't know how many zeros is 1 billion. Is that right? I think that's right. Let's see, million, billion. So, and I may have the wrong percent. Was it 90% or 70%?
You said 90.
Was it 90%?
That's what you said.
Oh, I meant in politics.
Oh, I don't know.
See, and I can see Charles Koch wanting to pay $900 million. He'll kill that idea pretty fast. Not to mention all the other billionaires. You want to see the formula again?
Yeah, mine doesn't work.
Okay.
Naming her box time again.
The what?
It named her box time. And she hasn't done anything with time.
You didn't do anything with time?
It has a memory and it's just
Now, if you go to the name manager, you can delete that again. The name manager is under the formula tab.
This formula stays on when he hits enter. Does that mean something's wrong?
Probably means it doesn't have the equals on.
It's the same as that, except that one up there has one more zero than this one does.
Here we go.
Okay. Then click at the end of that. Press enter. Let me see this. Show formula is on. There it goes.
What was wrong?
The show formula is on up here.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Sorry, thank you.
So simple. But
Let's say you want to give a bonus. If a person makes over so much, if you're in business. So let me figure a bonus calculation. Now, bonus calculation. And we have their salary here. Let's say salary, sales. You don't give a bonus for salary. Say the sales is 10,000. Now I want to figure the bonus amount. So again, here I can do an if statement. If they make over 5,000 in sales, I want to give them a bonus. Give them 10%. Or I could even have it just an amount. Give them $500. Well, again, if I type the equals and I do my if, here's where I need to put a condition. So if I say sales, and where's sales located at? B5, greater than 5,000, comma, and if they're making over 5,000, then I want to give them $1,000. Let's just say it's a set amount. You can, instead of putting a formula in here, you can put a value. So I could put in just 1,000, comma, and then if they don't make over 5,000, they get 0. So again, what this is going to check is it's going to check if B5 is greater than 5,000, and it's a true or false statement. If it's true, it'll give them $1,000. If it's false, then they'll get a 0.
They get half of what they sold.
Is that working on that?
Whoops. We found a typo. You want to accept this correction? I want to know what correction I made. Let's try again. Okay, you got yours? Okay. Something small. I know there's a problem there.
Go up to your formulas tab.
Make that have space here. Let's try that. Ah. Oh, so that. Oh, really? When I was in college.
And that's what you'll find. You mentioned you had to work in Excel. You have to make sure when you turn the formulas on, you turn it back on.
Like the dollar calculator now, and $500 calculator. And we had a general science. We had a general science. He made the check the answer to the slide. Yeah, it's brand new. We got one for graduation.
Now, if I press enter on that, it gives me 1,000. And if I come up here and I change this to like $200, the person gets 0. So again, it dynamically determines that. Now, some of these have other ways of doing that, but that's an if statement. Now, there's another way of doing the if statement. If you found that kind of cumbersome, trying to remember where the comma was, what does this mean? Which one's true, which one's false? Remember, I'm going to press delete on this to delete out that formula. I click this cell, press delete. I click the FX up here. And somewhere in here, you're going to find the if statement. Probably if you looked in the most recently used, I have an if statement there. Because we've used an if statement recently, haven't we? So if I click that if and click OK, this is a little bit more user-friendly. It's asking you here to put your logical test. That's your where your sales, which was B5, is greater than, I forget already what I put. Greater than 5,000, I think.
I think so.
Okay. And then down here, value if true. I put 1,000 in that. Value if false, 0. So it builds the formula for you. As you look down there, you see this is the same formula we typed in before. So these really are nice. These nice user-friendly windows that pop up. So.
Yeah.
Is greater than.
Are we gonna work with counts and those count?
The what?
Are we gonna work with the word count?
Word count. Not in this. We'll look at it in Word. We can, but
I need to know how to do that online.
oh, for Excel or Word?
Excel to count the number of members and then count.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can show you that.
Count the number of people that have paid and the numbers that haven't.
Now, definitely, if you have anything you want to see, I can focus, to wherever you want. And as we go beyond this, if you really want to get good at formulas and you want to see me put a formula of the week out there and cover a new one with examples, I can put that out there on that Facebook page. They're easy to create. I just start talking. I can't stop anyway, my wife says. So just click the record, start talking, and I create the little video. His question was, how do you count? So if I have numbers here.
Can you count the words?
Oh, you want to change the numbers to words?
The names, and then over here I have a column that they paid or they haven't paid. And I want to count.
Oh.
How many paid,
Okay.
And
So
I want to count names. I know how to count numbers. Well, go ahead. Let's do numbers. I'll do names.
okay. So you're talking like we got Bill, Sally, Mary, Frank. And what would be over here? Would there be an amount they owe, or would it be paid or not paid?
I don't know. I had one for every 10 years. That I was trying to count how many were there more than 10 years. That's a different one. Just basically.
Okay, so amount owed. Bill doesn't know anything because he's paid. Sally owes $100. Mary's paid up. Frank owes $200. Now over here, I can do a formula to count. There's a count if. I haven't used the count if for a while. So again, if I don't know, I know the name, but if I don't know exactly what it's expecting, I click this FX, and then I can come up here and I could actually just start typing count if I don't even know what category it's under. And this says counts the number of cells within a range that meets the given condition. That's one counting we have. The other one is count A, counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. Well, 0, the question would be if that's empty or not. I'm guessing it wouldn't be. And count is just a straight how many do we have. So if I chose the count if, because that sounds like what I'm wanting. If I click OK, it says range, counts the number of cells within a range that meets the given condition. So I'm going to, my data for amount owed is what? B2 to B5. So I'm going to type in B2 colon B5. Another way you can do it, if you don't like to type that in, you see over to the far right, there's a little icon here with a little red arrow on it. If you click that, then you can come over here and click and hold down my left mouse button, drag down, and that'll highlight your cells. So you don't have to type that in. And when you lit up, it says B2 colon B5, which is what I wanted. And then if you click this, I don't know what that is, red on it. What is it?
Like a grid.
Oh, is it a grid? Okay. I'm waiting for the science to come up with new eyes, and I'll be able to. Okay, so that's our range. I come down here and I click in the criteria, and it updates and tells me what in the world this is looking for. This is a condition in the form of a number, expression, or text that defines which cells will be counted. Now, that's not very meaningful. If I put 0 in there, that'll return all the ones that are 0.
Oh, okay.
You know, if you wanted all the ones less than 0, I don't know what you'd put. Let me see. I'd have to dig into that because I don't know the answer to that.
If you do 0 greater than 0, it should highlight the other ones.
See, it doesn't come back with any preview here saying it. Maybe if I put quotes around it. Greater than 0. You have to put quotes around it if you want that. So if you want everything less than or equal to value, you can do that. You just have to put the double quotes around it. But anyway, you were asking about, actually, you're asking about people that owed.
I did a -2 and I got a result. Without the quotes. I mean, -0.
Oh, -0?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work. Because, but it won't give you negative numbers, I bet. So let's see. I'm going to leave the -0 there, and it definitely counts these two. And if I click OK, that's bizarre. Oh, I had a count F from the first one. Let me delete that and start over. I had started to type count if. That's why I did that. It had 2 count ifs in there. So I come down here, click count if. I got B2 colon B5. B2, B5. Okay. And then down here, like I say, we'll put a -0. If I do an OK, that tells me there's 2 that haven't paid. If I change this to a 0, it'll update it and say there's 3 that haven't paid.
Okay.
If I put in a negative value, it goes back to the 2. Now, how you'd want to do the if not just amount owed. I don't know what -300 mean, but you get the idea. If I come over here, now if I click this, you can now click the FX, and that'll bring up all your items in here. So you don't have to redo it. If I clicked up here and clicked the FX, it would do the same thing. Now, if I said that I want quotes, so double quote, less than or equal to 0. Now, how you do a equal to, you just put an equal to next to your less than. And if I click OK on that, it'll tell me there's 3. And then again, as I adjust these, it'll automatically, helps if I actually change it to something meaningful. And it updates that. Now, I don't know how you do not equal to 0. Typically in programming, you put an exclamation equals. And let's try that. So if I come here, and I'm going to change that to that. The other way you can do it not equals is less than, greater than. That obviously didn't work. Let me put a less than, greater than here. Okay, the ones not equal to 0 is 3 of them. So sometimes it's a little tricky to figure out what these patterns should be. The rest of them are pretty easy. Less than is the less than, greater than is greater than, If you put an equals after, it's less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Equals is probably equals if you were to do it, but you can just put 0, and it's assumed equals. But that's how you do a COUNTIF. I'd be shocked if you run across something you're needing to do. If you do something manual that's taking you a long time, I'd be shocked if Excel isn't some way to automate that with the formula. Right over there. $, and then rest of student and 1.
Still,
Is yours not working?
you know, I'm just not doing nope. I got the idea. It's just,
Do you want me to put the formula you need for checking if they owed?
I got that.
Let's see.
But whenever I hit enter, it puts another number in my formula.
Let me see.
That's what first was there. You worked in your FX box.
Yeah, that FX is invaluable. So if you push your FX up there. And
I don't need it. Do I need? I have an equal sign. Do I need an equal sign?
no, they don't want the equals. There you go.
It was worth you walking over. Thank you.
Well, actually, I couldn't see it. So you said they're equals there that time. My eyes are too small to see that small. When they said that they wanted me to revamp the computer science program, I said, well, I need the biggest laptops you can get, screen-wise. So, those small Macs, I have a hard time seeing those. Okay, that's a COUNTIF. Now, I'm going to talk about the Vlookup. It's kind of neat. Let's say that we got sales tax. Wellington, what is Wellington like? 9.5. So 9.5. Mulvane, let's say it's 7.2%. Wichita, I don't know. 7.5? Okay. So let's say we have those. And this can be in a separate sheet. It doesn't have to be in the same sheet as we're in. And over here, you got your daily sales. And you want to figure out what your tax is going to be. I need city. And then I want to figure out what tax is going to be. As an example, let's say I have 2,000 daily sales here. I have 3,000 here, 1,500. This was happened in Wichita. This happened in Wichita. This happened in Wellington. You can do a bunch of if statements. You can embed an if statement inside an if statement. I've done one so complex where I'd have to do it outside of Excel. I'd put it into like Word, and I'd put them on separate lines, trying to wrap my mind around what in the world it should be, mainly for grading purposes. That was back before we went to Canvas, where it does all the grading for us. Maybe in education? Yeah. Were you in education? I had a spreadsheet that figured it all out, because you get that question, well, what do I need to get on the final to get a B in the course? And so it did all of that for me. So it took a while, but maybe you don't want to go to that kind of effort, all those if statements. Well, we can do a lookup on this. And now our Vlookup This is a function, and the format of it is we have our Vlookup. Like I said, made little cheat sheets here. This is the value to look up, comma, where to look, and that's going to be our full range, comma, the number of the column. This is the part that I had no clue what they're talking about until I watched that video. And then whether it's exact match or not. And that's going to be true or false. So that's going to be the format of our Vlookup. Okay, so over here, I could type that in, but what would be easier?
Go to the function.
Yeah. Go to here, and I'm gonna look for Vlookup.
Kind of go up there to look up and reference. Can I do that?
Definitely. Like if you go over to your formulas tab, you'll find it a lot easier. So Vlookup. And this is what I did earlier today. I didn't try to freehand type this in because I hadn't done a Vlookup for quite a while. Now this is our lookup value. Well, what we want to do is we want to look up Wichita. Because I want to come over here and I want to go to look up Wichita and I want to see what sales tax is. So here I'm going to put what's F2 is where I put my Wichita. So I'll type in F2. Now you'll notice to the side it even tells you what's there. Now this is a little bit confusing. I did this wrong at first. I thought it should just be A1 to A3, just your cities. It doesn't want that. It wants the entire range of data. So I type A1 colon B3. So again, from here down to here. No, not for the table array. Although if you're doing it by hand, you might need parentheses in certain places. Now the column index number. This was again wasn't real obvious. I don't think a Vlookup is fantastic, but it's not real obvious sometimes. Assuming I can get the pointer out here. A little bit taller, I could probably reach it. Our data was A1 to B3. This is column 1, and this is column 2. So when it's asking the column number here, it's referring to the column 1 here, column 2 here. So it says, looks for a value in the leftmost column of a table, returns a value. By default, the table must be sorted in ascending order. I didn't need to do that earlier, but we'll see. So I'm going to put in 2 here. Notice what it returns down here, 0.075. Now down here, the range lookup, here we're going to put false. False means an exact match. Means that it has to say Wichita. I was playing with this earlier where I was typing in variations of Wichita, W-I-H-I-T-A, misspelling it and so forth. It wasn't very good at coming to the one that's closest. And then I click OK. And it comes up and tells me my tax is 0.075. Now if I fill that down, comes down to Wellington here and gives us a NA. Now let's check this. What did it do? It adjusted it based upon the row, didn't it? You remember how we got around that?
Dollar sign. So
Dollar signs. Yeah, so back up here at my VLOOKUP. F2 is okay because I want that to change as I go down to the rows. But instead of A1 to B3, I'm going to put $A, $1, $B, $3. If you can see that, I know it's pretty small. And now if you click OK and you fill it down, we should see it correct. Do we have difficulty with that?
Just a little behind.
The what?
Just a little behind.
Oh, am I going too fast?
I got behind.
I'll bring that back up then.
VLOOKUP. I watched it a long time ago. That's all right, too.
Right here?
I don't know where your function regular.
Oh,
Where you get it.
you get it if you click this cell right here, and then click your FX. And then type VLOOKUP.
You have to type that in.
Yeah.
It's not there.
Not unless you've used it. It's actually in there's a category where it's under, but that's probably the easiest way to find it. And then you type in those values. Yeah, drag it in.
Look, I didn't get. Huh.
Click your FX button. So click the cell G. Yeah, it is scanning. And now click that. Oh, you're fine. Just
Dry.
I'm gonna make this full screen, so I can do that. And yeah, now click your FX.
Now.
Because it brings it up over here.
Yeah.
I was looking, well, where is it?
Yeah, because I was looking at yours while I thought, no, wait a minute, that
I
doesn't
can't
look the
see
same.
that. Let me go up there and put the formulas where you can see what should be.
And compare to what you've got.
Right. This is what should be in those cells. In the first blank, it should say F2. In the second blank, it should say $A, $1, colon, $B, $3. And the third one should say 2, and then it should say false.
Yeah. That's what I've got, but it's not getting it.
Is that colon between the 1 and the $sign?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, semicolon.
What should be a colon?
A colon. So I'm going to go back to that.
The rest of it's okay.
And hit return or say done.
Either way.
It's telling me to put a semicolon back in there. but then you put a semicolon back in there.
Semicolon. Let's do it another way. Let me try something.
Help yourself.
I'm gonna click here,
Okay?
and then I'll come over here and click and hold down and drag over that. That's some weird stuff. Let me do a delete. And come over here and click and hold down and drag over here. So that's the dollar sign for the A, dollar sign for the
Okay.
one. Dollar sign for the B, dollar sign for the and then the two, and then false. How strange.
And when I put the, is it 7.5 or 7.2 that you had there?
Mm-hmm.
It took the 2 out. Then you just add down dollar sign, but it took the 2 out.
There you go.
Mine looks just as no, it doesn't. What does that say?
Sort by, and then have a red exclamation point. Yeah.
It's type Mulvane. Put Mulvane there.
Put Mulvane on the top.
Yeah. And then put Wellington. Yeah. Good press enter. And let me check. Still there's nothing. F2. Oh, because you have your sales in the same cell as your city.
As a city, so it's gotta be separate.
Right. 2000's got to be here, and Wichita's got to be here.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm looking for a problem with the formula, and it's actually the over there. Okay, now it's going to look correct out.
$144, $46 more, bro. So if we need to.
Did you get? Is everybody good? No?
It doesn't work, no matter how you type it in there.
She doesn't have anything funky in there.
What does that say? Does that say F2? There's a city. Yeah. That's just strange.
It is. And
What's the false represent? Anybody know? What does false represent?
it has to be a solid, it'll always say Wichita. It has to always say that, whatever that value is.
No?
It has to say that word exactly. I don't know
So if
why
I
it
misspelled
does
Wichita on my 20-year-old,
that. It wouldn't pull it up.
I'll try that. And if, what else would you put in there besides false if you didn't care?
I don't know, I didn't tell us.
Oh,
Close to.
yeah, it's not available. Yeah. Oh, good.
And I only know that because I was listening.
Who was it? I was trying to find that mistake.
I can't do something and listen at the same time, so I have to stop.
So you could have a formula set up. You're not listening. So you could have a formula set up so somebody else would sales taxes on that house. Yeah. Something in the house. You could just plug in your computer.
What I'm thinking is if you could count the difference in TJ before you add one.
Yeah, that's how I have it set up. What's an A1? And I can do that. So if you have your total changes.
All the numbers. I know you put the first and second name on it, so same line.
Everything has to be in its own site.
Yeah, okay.
I probably won't be able to figure it out. That's a strange one.
You should get something every day.
Have her email it to you.
I'll just plug it in
Email
from
that
there.
down.
Okay.
Do you think?
Okay. That's what you want to look at. That'd be a good example. That'd be a good wrap up.
Oh, good.
Now, if I start doing it, quickly off. Hey, that's not what I mean.
So with this, so is this supposed to
I'm gonna keep it too.
show, like, say if you bought something in Wichita and you bought something in Wellington, you can see what use would be.
Right. And you could use that in formulas. See, like here, since my sales is here,
Right.
then I can figure the amount of tax by taking equals 2,000 times the tax. And then that's built in, such that when you put your new sales in here and you type your city, it will automatically calculate it for you.
Can you show me
How to do it?
the formula?
Oh, I multiplied the sales, which I had in E2, times tax, which was in G2. Now let's say I have the date in. I'm trying to create a, I don't know what I'm trying to create. Date in, date out, and the date I put in 2/2/19 and 2/5/19. Now, sometimes when you're working with dates, you can just simply subtract them. It'll give you the number of days. If it doesn't, then we'd have to figure out a different way to do it. So just total days. Let's just simply try to subtract it, see if Excel's smart enough. And I don't know the answer myself. So I'll do equals B2 minus A2.
Yeah. You have to count your first day.
So 2/7/2019. So we need 6 is what you're saying, right?
From 2 to 5
Yeah.
before.
Okay.
What?
If your date out is on 2/5.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a +1 in here. Let's see if that works. So is that what it should get? Is
It depends on whether you're counting the day
Right.
you put it in or not.
Yes, I want to count the first.
so you want to count the first day?
Yes.
Okay.
So what is the formula?
The formula is, and you didn't actually need the parentheses there. Let me make that bigger. I don't know why I put the parentheses there. But that would be our formula, where you're taking one date and you're subtracting another date.
That's
That's
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had another column here that's amount 35.
Yes. $35.
Oh, that's just an amount. Okay. So amount and then 35 here.
Well, that times that amount.
Oh, okay.
The total will be times that.
So then our total dollars, we'll take our number of days, I'm assuming. Is that right?
Yes.
Times amount? Okay. So here, I could type it in, and that's fine. I could also use my arrow keys. After I do the equals, if I do my arrow key and go over, see how it puts a C2 there for me? And then you said time, so that's our asterisk. And I can use my right or left arrow key to go over, and you see it puts D2 there. So if you want to type them in, that's fantastic. You can also use your arrow keys to go over.
How do I'm in C2, I'm trying to hit the number 6 and it's giving me a 8.
Let me go back there.
It's like it's trying to add.
Is that the formula you have?
I don't have, I thought I took that formula out.
Okay.
How did you get that? My formula's not right on my dates.
You have to go to C2 and do equals.
Oh, I have to.
Have to put the equals there. And the parentheses are, I don't, taught math for 24 years. I'm putting parentheses where I don't need them. You should just do equals B2 minus A2 plus 1. I was afraid that since they were dates, that I needed to set them apart. Yeah, let's actually see. Nope, still works.
I keep track of how much my car makes per gallon.
Mm-hmm.
I put in miles and then I put in gallons. And I have another column that said
All of that, yeah.
how much it costs per mile radius.
Yeah, well, what?
And then divide by.
Does it change as the car gets older?
Yeah, no,
I didn't know if they
when I put driving.
has a, of course, I don't know very much about cars, but in the carburetor, they still have those.
It's given right there.
When I give me a day, just give me.
See, same
I think
thing.
that's what it just.
On that cell, right, or go ahead and click it, and we're going to go over the clear and do a clear all in that cell. Oh no, her. She's having a difficulty with it. Oh, you're having the same problem. Yeah, do a clear all. And then after you do a clear all, then click C2 again. And we're going to type equals B2 minus A2. And then we add 1. And hopefully that fixes it. Didn't?
False.
My computer's updating.
Oh, it's
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Fine.
There you go. Okay, so I have.
six. I got it. Computer's smarter than we are.
Yeah.
They did it, huh?
And she minus A.
Put in different areas, and you won't have an update.
So, do you have Excel on your cell phone?
Are you kidding me? Go stand next to her.
Let me lay hands on the computer.
Lay hands, lay hands.
I wonder if you could put it in your cell phone and then whenever you get gas, put it in your gallons and miles.
Go to home. And down it says name.
Yeah. I just thought of, well, my cell phone's in the car, so I guess nobody wants to stop it. There is an app for Excel, but I don't know if you can get it on your phone. I know there's a Word app.
Clear all. And we'll go ahead before I do this. Do date. And
So it's got
2/2/2019. Oh, your formula.
Yeah.
That's why those are so weird. That's it. Now this isn't still showing correctly, so I'm gonna do an edit. Clear on that. Clear kind of clears everything out. So it should clear formats. It should set back to general. And Untitled equals.
Huh?
Minus save once. Great. Plus
Yeah, mine.
Yeah, we are good.
We have another question.
Yeah, you have to hit delete.
Which one?
Right. Still gonna try something different.
what should it say was blank? What should it say was blank?
Well, if it's blank, it means there's still there.
So it should be 0 or
It would be the whole amount of days.
the current day?
Like if they came in on the 2nd of February, and they're still there at the end, it should say 7 days.
Okay.
But we don't put an end date in. If there's anybody back in, that's how you know that they're home. So then you just delete that, those spaces. Because they don't bring up
See, the question was, it really, actually, we're at the end of the workshop. So if you want to stick around, that's fantastic. And if you don't, then you can take off. But I'm going to show how to handle the situation she just described. Now, out on Facebook, I think most of you probably have seen it, but that's where the events are listed. So there'll be more and more workshops. If you got ideas, send those to me. Because I don't just offer what I think would be fun. I try to pick things that people are wanting, that they're requesting. If you want to see a Formulas 2 that goes in more detail, then you can do that. If you got something else. If you want to be specific on a topic area, then I can do that. If you want an open night where you bring in your projects and I work them up here, would that be popular?
We're just discussing that. That would be awesome.
Now, I don't have much of a memory, so do send me a message through Facebook. Say, hey, schedule this. Okay, now, obviously, the person's, the number of days that have passed is not negative 43,496. One way you can handle this, and I'm going to modify the formula here, is I'm going to type fx, I think, and I want to choose the if. Now I'm going to have to play with this a little bit to get it exactly right. I want to check to see if date out is blank. If date out is blank, I want to handle it like you indicated. I'm guessing spaces, but we'll try that and see. Of course, I need to tell it. B3 is blank. So that's true. Now, I'll give you time to write this down because it may take me a while to get it right. So if it's blank, then I wanted to calculate the difference between today's date and the one that's their entry date. Now, I think the calculator function for that is now. It might be date. I'm going to cancel that. And let me go out and see what it is. Equals now. This returns a current date and time format as a date and time. It is now. Okay, so back to here. Go to this. I want my if. And I'm going to say if B3 is equal to blank, then I want to say now minus A3.
What's the symbol for blank?
The what?
Quotation marks is blank.
Oh yeah, two quotes next to each other indicates a blank, an empty string.
Okay.
Plus 1. It's not acting like it's going to like that, but we'll see. Otherwise, it's B3 minus A3 plus 1. If it's not equal to, if it's equal to blank, see, it looks like it's working opposite. Oh no, that would be that. Okay, let me do an OK. And that doesn't look promising.
No. Whoa. My page ain't busy.
Well, there's
gotta have a number in both places.
there's more than one way to get around that. I'll put current date up here. And so there's my current date. Okay, so now I go back to my, oh, it's got, I see why that didn't work. It's got that extra junk in there. That doesn't look promising. General. Well, that looks good, but I'm sure you don't want part of a day, do you?
No.
Because I spec from the first, midnight on December 1st to now is probably 12.84 days, including the beginning date and ending date. trunk. Truncates a number to an integer by removing the decimal fractional. Would you want it to round or truncate? Round?
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of saying it's been 12.84 days, it should say 13 days. Okay. So,
What's your today's 12. So it would be 12 days.
Yeah, do that, yeah.
so I want to round in here. And 0. Let's see if that's even close. 13 days.
No, I think they said it
See ya.
no, it's going to be 12.
So truncate. Okay.
Sorry.
So that give us 12.
Okay.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Uh-huh.
Okay, what is the formula?
Now let me just double check this. Okay, so I put in I've been in there since 2017. I guess I would 773 days. Okay. That seems reasonable though, doesn't it? That's 2 years. 365 times 360 or plus 365, 720, and then the extra days. Okay. So the formula. Oops. Is that right there?
Trunc.
Yeah, the trunk actually just drops off the decimals. So like in their case, they were, if it was 12.84 days, they wanted to go back to 12. So then that would just drop off the decimals. The now returns the current date.
Oh, okay.
And so this is taking the current date minus the date in and plus 1.
What's the 0?
Nothing. Let me get rid of it. I'm surprised it didn't give me an error.
Oh shoot, this is better.
You like that?
I see it better.
In response to your question, what's a 0 for? Originally, they said they wanted a round, so I put a round function in there. In the round function, you tell it how many decimal places you want to round it to.
Okay.
You trying to see it, it was not working for me.
And then there's
Smart.
Years ago, somebody had to download it.
I was starting to have the headache.
Oh. I can ask.
That's what we did. We took pictures with our phone.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
We'll be covering Google Sheets, which might be an option. But I'll ask about it.
Yeah.
No. Next week is
Can you give them the formula for the current date?
I think it's a word.
Can you do the current date deal?
The what?
The current date, can you put that formula up too?
Oh yeah, I'll put that up too. Did you get that done?
We just need that current date.
Okay, I'll ask.
I'll try to be back after.
Now I know if you sign up for a class, you can download the newest version. Do you,
I've been 2 classes now, so
Yeah.
Meet at the college. Is that how you get into Facebook?
oh the
It's the student.
oh no, that's the password for the computers here.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your Facebook?
Oh the let's see. I'll let her take a right, take
No,
a picture.
I'm good.
You good? Okay.
Yes.
I didn't,
The Facebook is is this right here? Yeah, if you just get in Facebook and you look for Cali CS, that'll take you there.
Cali CS what? Live modular?
No, that shouldn't. That's part of
Okay,
It's just I can't get rid of that.
okay, got you.
Yeah, all you need for the Facebook is that part right there.
Wait a minute, let me get it.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This has eluded me for a long time.
Now, and don't hesitate if that doesn't give you exactly what you want. Email me. Say, email me the spreadsheet. Take out any of the personal information you need to for security, the privacy and so forth. But email me the spreadsheet and says this is not quite what I wanted to do, and I'll look at it.
Well, what this is for is billing on inmate housing.
Okay.
And so I put in when they come in, we put in the date they come in, their name, and the date they come in.
Right.
And then the date they leave, which might be 6 months from now, it might be tomorrow.
Right.
Then I usually count when they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just drag and copy and paste the amounts and the total.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I could never get my dates where it would add them up myself, so I'm not sitting there
Doing them individually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one thing I will mention on this is I think that this spreadsheet I gave you will not work if you come over here and you put a space.
Okay.
See how it broke it? So you cannot have a space here. Even though it looks well, there's nothing there. Right. Yeah, it's a space,
There's
and
something there.
yeah. So if I press delete, it fixes it.
That's why that's why our system is at the office.
Mm-hmm.
Is like don't use a comma and don't use a space.
Yeah.
Don't keep your finger off them buttons. Because it'll screw them up every time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's our instructor
Thank
right
you.
there.
You're welcome.
How do I get volume? I don't have any volume on this.
It might be you have the one computer that has the volume. There's one of the laptops that has the volume. Oh, there you go.
This is your class today?
That was my webinar from Monday. I didn't have anybody sign on, but that's fine.
So you did this and nobody listened to you?
No, I